Only the chosen have these 7 hidden marks. Don't ignore them. There are moments in life when you feel a pull, something deep inside you that whispers, you were made for more. It's not just ambition or wishful thinking. It's a calling, a quiet yet unshakable sense that you don't fully belong to this world. No matter how much you try to fit in, something always sets you apart. You see things differently. You feel things deeply. And sometimes it even feels like life is shaping you through trials that others don't seem to face. If any of that sounds familiar, then listen closely. Because what if I told you that the Bible reveals hidden marks, spiritual signs that set apart the chosen ones of God? Marks that aren't always visible to the eye but are unmistakable in the life of someone God has called for His purpose. You see, from the very beginning, God has always set apart a remnant, His chosen people. Not necessarily the richest, the most talented, or the strongest, but those whose hearts are marked by something deeper. Noah was chosen in a corrupt generation. Abraham was called out of a pagan land. David was an overlooked shepherd, and the disciples were ordinary men before Jesus called them. None of them looked special at first, but they carried something inside them that set them apart. The truth is, if you belong to God, your life will look different. The world won't always understand you. People may walk away from you. You may even feel like you're fighting battles that others don't have to face. But all of it, every trial, every struggle, every restless longing inside you, is evidence that you are marked. And that's exactly what we're going to uncover today. The 7 hidden marks of God's chosen ones. Some of these marks may already be evident in your life, while others might be things you've never fully understood before. But by the time we're done, you'll know without a doubt whether you've been set apart for something greater. So lean in. Open your heart, because if you've ever questioned whether God has a divine purpose for you, this just might be the confirmation you've been waiting for. Mark number 1, an unexplainable hunger for God. Have you ever felt an unshakable hunger deep within you? One that no success, relationship, or earthly pleasure could ever satisfy? A longing that pulls you towards something greater, something beyond this world? If so, that could be the first sign that you are set apart by God. The Bible makes this clear in Matthew 5:6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. This isn't just a casual interest in God. This is an insatiable desire to know Him, to draw closer to Him, to understand His ways even when no one else around you seems to care. It's a restlessness in your spirit, a deep yearning that pushes you to seek Him, no matter the cost. Think about the people God chose in Scripture. David is one of the greatest examples. He wasn't the tallest, strongest, or most obvious choice to be king. Yet God called him a man after my own heart. 1 Samuel 13:14. Why? Because David had an undeniable hunger for God. Read through the Psalms, and you'll see a man who couldn't live without God's presence. He cried out, "As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, my God." Psalm 42:1. He wasn't satisfied with just knowing about God. He wanted to experience Him. This hunger is what separates the chosen from the crowd. Many people believe in God, but not everyone pursues Him. Some are content with Sunday services, occasional prayers, and a Bible verse here and there. But the chosen, they can't settle for surface-level faith. When they go a day without praying, they feel it. When they're distant from God, there's an ache in their spirit that nothing else can fill. This hunger isn't something you can manufacture on your own. It's a mark of God's hand on your life. It's the Holy Spirit drawing you closer, calling you deeper, and setting you apart for something greater. And if you recognize this longing inside of you, you can be sure of one thing: you are not ordinary. You are chosen. But here's the catch. Hunger must be fed. If God has placed this mark on you, you can't ignore it. Feed that hunger with prayer, with His Word, with worship. The more you pursue Him, the more He will reveal Himself to you, because those who are truly hungry for Him will never be left empty. Mark number 2, a life of divine protection. Have you ever had a moment in your life where you should have been harmed, maybe even should have died, but somehow you walked away unharmed? Maybe it was a close call in an accident, a sickness that could have taken your life, or a situation where disaster was imminent, but something or someone stepped in. If you have ever felt like you were protected when you shouldn't have been, take a moment and ask yourself, was that God's hand over my life? Because one of the undeniable marks of the chosen is divine protection. The Bible is filled with promises of God's protection for those who belong to Him. Psalm 91:11 says, "For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." This doesn't mean that the chosen never face danger or hardship, but it does mean that nothing can take them out before God's appointed time. His chosen ones walk under supernatural covering. Look at Daniel in the lion's den. By all logic, he should have been devoured the moment he was thrown in. But he wasn't, because God had placed a mark on his life. The lions' mouths were shut, and Daniel emerged unscathed, not because of luck, not because the lions weren't hungry, but because God's protection surrounded him. Or take Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were thrown into a furnace so hot that even the guards who got close were burned to death. Yet when the king looked inside, he saw 4 men walking in the fire, unharmed. The 4th man? That was Jesus. God's chosen are never alone, not even in the fire. Even Jesus himself was protected until his appointed time. Many times the religious leaders tried to seize him, yet Scripture says he would simply slip away unharmed. John 10:39. Why? Because his mission was not yet complete. Until God's purpose for him on earth was fulfilled, nothing could touch him. Now let's bring this to your life. Think back. Have you ever faced a situation where, by all reasoning, things should have gone differently? Maybe you were in a near-fatal accident, but walked away without a scratch. Maybe you felt an unexplainable nudge to leave a place just moments before disaster struck. Maybe you faced spiritual attacks, but somehow overcame them when others didn't. That's not coincidence, that's not luck, that's divine protection. God doesn't protect his chosen just so they can live comfortably. He preserves them because they have a purpose. If you are still here, if God has shielded you time and time again, it means your assignment isn't finished. There is something he still wants to do through you. But remember, divine protection doesn't mean you won't go through difficulties. The enemy will attack, storms will come, and battles will arise. Yet nothing can take you out before God's appointed time. When you are marked by God, even when the enemy comes at you with full force, God raises a standard against him. Isaiah 59:19. If you've ever looked back and thought, I should have been taken out by that, or I don't know how I made it through that storm, recognize it for what it is. Evidence that you are chosen. Evidence that God's hand is on your life. Because when God marks you, you are untouchable until his purpose in you is fulfilled. Mark number 3, a strange separation from the world. Have you ever felt like you just don't belong? Like no matter how hard you try, you can't seem to fit in with the crowd. Maybe you've been rejected by friends. misunderstood by family, or even looked down on because of your faith. If that sounds familiar, don't be discouraged. This could be one of the clearest signs that you are chosen by God. Jesus made this distinction very clear in John 15:19. If you were of the world would love you as its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. From the beginning of time, God's chosen ones have always been set apart. Look at the story of Joseph. His own brothers despised him, not because he did anything wrong, but because of the calling God had placed on his life. They were jealous of the dreams God gave him, and they tried to get rid of him. What they didn't realize was that their rejection was actually part of God's plan to position Joseph for something greater. Or consider Moses. He grew up in Pharaoh's palace, living a life of wealth and privilege, yet he never fully belonged there. And when God called him to deliver Israel, Moses had to leave behind everything he knew. He was rejected by the Egyptians, doubted by his own people, and isolated in the wilderness before stepping into his purpose. This pattern repeats throughout Scripture. God's chosen ones often experience seasons of loneliness, rejection, or separation, not because they are unloved, but because God is setting them apart for something greater. And if you feel like you've been walking a lonely road, understand this. It's not punishment, it's preparation. Sometimes, God will remove people from your life because they can't go where He's taking you. Other times, He will allow rejection to happen so that you learn to depend on Him alone. The truth is, when you are chosen, you will never truly fit in with the world, because you were never meant to. But here's the encouraging part. Separation is always followed by elevation. Just like Joseph was separated before he was promoted, just like Moses was isolated before he became a leader, and just like Jesus spent time in the wilderness before stepping into his ministry, your separation is a sign that God is preparing you. If you've ever wondered why you don't fit in, why people walk away from you, or why life seems to be pulling you in a different direction, it's because you are marked. You are chosen. And the very things that make you feel different are the same things that prove God's hand is on your life. Mark number 4, a constant inner warfare. Have you ever felt like you're in a battle, not just with the world around you, but within yourself? Like there's a war happening inside your mind and spirit, pulling you between who you used to be and who God is calling you to become. If so, this is another sign that you are chosen. Galatians 5:17 explains it perfectly. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other. This means that the closer you get to God, the more intense the battle becomes. Why? Because the enemy fights hardest against those who are destined for something great. Look at the life of Paul. Before he became one of the greatest apostles, he was a man at war with himself. In Romans 7:15-20, he admitted his struggle. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do. This I keep on doing. Paul was chosen by God, yet he still wrestled with his flesh, his thoughts, and his past. This is why so many of God's chosen ones experience deep spiritual battles. You might struggle with doubt, temptation, fear, or even a sense of unworthiness. You might feel like no matter how hard you try, you keep falling short. But listen carefully. The battle itself is proof that you are chosen. Because those who do not belong to God don't have this kind of fight inside of them. Think about it. Before you truly started seeking God, did you feel this battle? Probably not. The enemy only attacks those who are a threat to his kingdom. If you weren't called, if you weren't marked by God, The enemy wouldn't waste his time trying to keep you down. So, if you're experiencing this inner warfare, take heart. It means you are on the right path. It means God is working in you. It means the enemy sees what you are becoming and is doing everything he can to stop it. But here's the good news. He won't win. God's power is greater than your struggles. His spirit inside you is stronger than the war against you. 1 John 4:4 declares, "Greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world." So don't give up. Don't let the battle make you feel unworthy. Don't let your struggles convince you that you're not chosen. Because the very fact that you're fighting means that God is transforming you. And when the chosen endure the battle, they always come out victorious. Mark number 5, a supernatural love for others. Have you ever found yourself loving people who didn't deserve it? Forgiving when you had every right to hold a grudge? Feeling compassion for someone who hurt you? If so, that's not just your personality. It's a mark of being chosen. The world operates on a system of give and take. People love those who love them and reject those who wrong them. But Jesus made it clear that his chosen ones live by a different standard. 1 John 4:7-8 says, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love." This kind of love is supernatural. It's not based on feelings, emotions, or whether someone deserves it. It's the same love Jesus displayed when he hung on the cross and said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Luke 23:34. It's the love Stephen had when he was being stoned to death and still prayed for those who were killing him. Acts 7:60. It's not human love. It's God's love flowing through you. Look at the life of Joseph again. After everything his brothers did to him, betraying him, selling him into slavery, lying to their father, he had every reason to hate them. But when he finally had power over them, he chose to love. He said in Genesis 50:20, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." Instead of using his position to take revenge, he used it to bless them. That kind of love doesn't come naturally. It comes from being marked by God. The chosen love differently. They love deeply, even when it hurts. They see people through God's eyes, not just through human flaws. They forgive, even when it doesn't make sense. And yes, this kind of love is costly. It makes you vulnerable. It may even cause people to take advantage of you. But here's the truth. Loving like this isn't a weakness. It's evidence of God's presence in your life. So if you've ever wondered why your heart breaks for people, why you care so much even when others don't, or why you feel led to forgive things others wouldn't, know this: you are chosen. You carry a love that is not of this world, and that is one of the strongest signs that God's hand is on your life. Mark number 6, uncommon wisdom and discernment. Have you ever sensed something was wrong before it happened? Have you ever met someone and immediately felt like something was off about them, even though nothing seemed unusual? Do people often come to you for advice because they see wisdom in you? If so, this is another mark of the chosen, God-given wisdom and discernment. James 1:5 tells us, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him." Wisdom and discernment are not just about intelligence. Many intelligent people make foolish decisions. Many educated people lack common sense. But when you are chosen, God grants you insight that goes beyond human understanding. Look at Solomon. He didn't ask God for riches, power, or fame. He asked for wisdom. And because of that, God gave him all the rest as well. 1 Kings 3:5-14. His wisdom wasn't just about making good decisions, it was a divine ability to see things others couldn't. Or consider Daniel. He had the ability to interpret dreams and visions, revealing secrets that no one else could understand. His wisdom put him in positions of influence in multiple kingdoms, yet it wasn't from his own intellect. It was from God. Discernment is especially critical for the chosen, because it protects you from deception. The enemy constantly tries to send distractions, false opportunities, and even people who seem good on the surface but are dangerous underneath. But if you are chosen, God gives you a spiritual radar. You might not always be able to explain it, but something in your spirit will sense when something is not right. Have you ever felt an uneasiness about a situation, even though everything looked fine? Have you ever walked away from something, only to later realize that God was protecting you? That's spiritual discernment at work. But here's the challenge. This wisdom and discernment must be sharpened. If God has given you this gift, you must cultivate it by staying in His presence. The more you seek Him, the clearer His voice becomes. The more you ignore the world's noise, the more you can recognize His guidance. So if you've ever wondered why you see things differently, why you pick up on things others miss, or why people come to you for wisdom, it's because you are marked. God has set you apart, giving you a level of understanding that is not common. And in a world filled with deception, that wisdom is one of the greatest gifts you can carry. Mark number 7, an irresistible call to a higher purpose. Have you ever felt like you were meant for something greater? Like there's a purpose on your life that you can't escape, no matter how much you try? Maybe you've had moments where God placed a dream in your heart, and even when you tried to ignore it, it kept coming back. Or perhaps you've gone through things that didn't make sense at the time, only to later realize that God was preparing you for something bigger. If you've ever felt that persistent pull toward a divine mission, that's not just ambition, it's a mark of the chosen. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." God's chosen ones are never random. He calls them before they even take their first breath. And once that calling is placed on your life, it won't let you go. Think about Moses. He tried to run from his calling. After killing an Egyptian, he fled into the wilderness, hoping to live a quiet life. But God found him in the burning bush and called him back to lead Israel out of Egypt. No matter how far he ran, he couldn't escape his divine assignment. Look at Jonah. He was chosen by God to preach to Nineveh, but instead of obeying, he ran in the opposite direction. God sent a storm to stop him, then a great fish to swallow him until he finally surrendered. When you are chosen, God will chase you down until you step into your purpose. Maybe you've felt this in your own life. Maybe you've tried to go down a certain path, but doors kept closing. Maybe you've tried to live like everyone else, but something inside you won't let you settle. Maybe every time you step away from God, He keeps calling you back. That's because when God marks you, your life is not your own. You were created for more, and until you embrace that calling, nothing else will truly satisfy you. But here's the truth. Your calling won't always be easy. God's chosen ones often go through trials that don't make sense, but it's because those trials are shaping them for their destiny. Joseph had to go through betrayal and imprisonment before he could become a ruler. David had to face giants and persecution before he could wear the crown. Even Jesus endured suffering before stepping into His full glory. So if you feel like you've been through a lot, don't be discouraged. God doesn't waste pain. Every struggle, every setback, Every delay is part of His preparation. He's refining you, strengthening you, and positioning you for the assignment He placed on your life before you were even born. And if you feel that pull in your spirit, that deep knowing that you were made for more, don't ignore it. That's God calling you higher. Because when you are chosen, you will never be able to live an ordinary life. Conclusion. Are you ready to step into your calling? Being chosen by God is not about status. It's about purpose. It's not an easy path, but it's a path filled with divine power, protection, and transformation. If you felt different your whole life, if you've sensed God's hand guiding you even in the darkest moments, then it's time to stop questioning and start embracing who you are. God doesn't choose people at random. He calls those who are willing to be set apart, those who will walk by faith even when the road is uncertain. And if He has marked you, He will equip you. Every struggle you've endured, every battle you've fought, and every moment of loneliness or rejection has been shaping you for what He has planned. But being chosen comes with a choice. Will you step into your calling, or will you shrink back into comfort? Will you embrace the fire that refines you, or will you resist the process? God is calling you higher, but only you can decide to answer. So if something in your spirit is stirring, if you know deep down that you were meant for more, don't ignore it. Lean into God. Seek Him like never before. Let Him transform you, strengthen you, and lead you into everything He created you to be. Because the world doesn't need more people who blend in. It needs those who are willing to stand out, to rise up, and to live boldly for the one who called them. You are chosen. Now it's time to walk in it.